Hello, intro psychology students. It's good to be with you. This is Dr. Serafin. I'm just giving you a quick overview of my plans for you this coming week as we're going to be conducting our memory lab online. What you can see here is our landing page for Introduction to Psychology. And things have been moved around a little bit just to get things situated more neatly. You'll see important updates, general course information. Let me draw your attention to the updated syllabus that Dr. Godlowski posted. I've moved our graded assessments to one spot. So here you'll see the exams piling up and the lab reports, two of which you have outstanding. As usual, on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the deadline for any upcoming events, as well as a digest of the latest news. In this case, a link to my invitation for you to join Slack and the Zoom drop-in for our regular lab sessions. The drop-in, of course, being optional. Your psychology lecture materials that Dr. Godlowski is preparing will go here. And if you scroll down, you'll see a section titled Psychology Lab Materials. And this is where I want you to look for upcoming online or virtual lab activities that you'll do. So right now you can see the memory lab stuff is posted. Further down, things that are not currently available will populate as time goes on, and your old lab materials are still there for your reference as well. Drawing your attention back to this week's lab, there are three parts to this week's lab. The final part is what results in or directly leads to your deliverable, your lab report, which is the third of the four graded lab reports for this course. So when you click on part one, the memory lab instructions, which I'm going to do here, you'll see that what I want you to do is finish your textbook reading about learning and memory, which I'm sure you've done, and then follow these instructions, which are basically requiring you to engage in some fun online memory games. You're going to start by reading this article about brain games, and then you're going to try one of these uh, brain game websites. So Mind Games actually lists a number of different kinds of games. Memozor also has a number of different kinds of games. You've probably seen commercials for Luminosity. There is a Mental Floss blog article and a Make Tech Easier blog article that also feature some gaming options. The reason I'm having you practice or experience these online brain games is because it's rather controversial, frankly, the extent to which these can boost memory or cognitive ability. And what I'd like for you to do is determine really where the rubber meets the road in terms of fun versus actual effectiveness in enhancing memory functions. So you will read this article as part of part one for the memory lab. You'll read this LA Times article. You'll try one of the memory games here. Then you'll share your experience by making an initial post in this required Moodle forum. And I'd like for you to make your post actually by Tuesday the 7th. So this says Monday, April 8th. It actually should say Tuesday, April 7th. I apologize. And after you make your initial post, and when you click on this link, actually, we'll do that, you'll see that it leads you directly to part two, which invites you to share your experience by answering the questions below, right? And after you make that initial post, you'll come back within a day or two and comment on the posts of 2 classmates. So let me go back so that you can follow um, uh, the links. So the first link you'll go to is the Memory Lab instructions. That's where we landed. You will read this article, you'll try one of these games, and then you'll share your experience through an initial post on this Moodle course site, the forum for our memory lab, and then you'll come back to this forum and make a comment on the posts of at least 2 classmates. You can access the forum through this first instruction page, which we did here. But what that actually does is take you to the second step of your memory lab instructions. So let me go back and I'll show you that they are sequential and they are linked. So if you scroll down and you do part 1, and then you have something else to do for another class, you need to take a break from studying in general, you can come back and go straight to part 2, which again brings you to this forum. And what you'll do to participate in the forum is you'll click Add New Discussion Topic. And when you do that, you will share your experience of the brain games or game that you tried by answering these questions. First, which brain game did you try? Include the website if applicable. How difficult was it to master? Does this game have the potential to actually boost memory? Why? Yes, or why? No? And what proof does the site or the author offer as to why or how the activity actually improves cognitive performance? And do you believe their claims? Why or why not? So in part 2, you'll see there's a reminder that if you haven't done part 1, that you should go back and review the detailed instructions for part 1, which again involve reading this article, trying the games before you do the forum. So the other thing I want you to do for this activity, for this online memory lab, is finally go to part 3, which is the final activity and where you'll find the instructions for your lab report. So once you've completed parts 1 and 2, you'll do this, and clicking on part 3, you'll see that I'm asking you to choose one of these 3 case studies. So there's a case study about Clive Waring, who suffers from amnesia, one about Stephen Wiltshire, who is known as the human camera, and one about London cabbies and the knowledge, as it's called. All 3 of these case studies represent examples of either defective memory due to disease, savant memory function. So the human camera, Stephen Wiltshire, has a photographic memory. So in some respects, he has sort of supernormal memory capacity in one domain. The London cabbies have memory functions that directly correlate to their occupation, as taxi cab drivers in the London metropolitan area whose hippocampal volumes increase with years of experience navigating that region. So all these case studies tell a different story about memory functions. Choose one of these case studies, and then for your lab report in 500 words, I want you to address these questions. So you're going to have an introduction, a materials and methods, a results, and a conclusion and discussion. In the intro, I want you to talk about the process of memory generally, drawing information from your textbook reading. Talk about how is the process of memory illustrated by the example of case study you chose above. So one of these 3. In your materials and methods, I want you to discuss which online memory game you tried and how did it work. And then in the results, tell me, did the online memory game you tried actually improve memory? And then finally, in your conclusions and discussion, I want you to say whether the online memory game you tried was worth it and whether it could help enhance the memory functions in the subject you chose for your case study. So, for instance, the London Cabbies, Stephen Wiltshire, or Clive Wearing. So that is basically what is required as part of your online virtual memory lab for our first week back. On Thursday, for the first hour of our normal lab time, I will be on Zoom, available to answer your questions. You can Slack me, and I hope you do anytime with questions, because I want you to begin and carry out these lab activities asynchronously, meaning out of step with our usual lab session, so that you can, do them as time permits throughout the week and not be so overwhelmed. Of course, the deadlines will be as follows. For the discussion forum, I want you to do that by Tuesday, the 7th of April, so that you have time to get back on there by the 8th to make your comments on your peers. So make your initial post by the 7th, comment on your peers by the 8th. Your memory lab reports will be due as usual on the 8th of April. And that is actually a week later than the original deadline. Talk to you soon. I hope this makes sense. If not, Slack me. Bye.